Hello everyone and welcome to the 18th episode of the Nature's Cozy podcast. My name is Allison and I am the maker behind Nature's Cozy. If this is your first time checking out my videos, welcome, and if you are not new, welcome back. It is a beautiful March day, beginning of March. You can feel spring is on its way. And I'm really excited. A lot of our snow has melted, which it's March, so that's totally fine. Hopefully we don't get like a crazy snowstorm again, which has been known to happen here in Chicago. And I just wanted to pop on here really quickly, hopefully quickly, because I have a finished object and I wanted to share the object, and I have a couple other works in progress, but I'm currently on a little break from work right now, so I'm trying to make like a quickie here. So like I said, I really wanted to podcast today because I have a finished object and it is a birthday present for my mom. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to show it before I gave it to her on this episode, unless I did it right now. So this is the Bronte Sister Shawl by Lindsey Fowler, and I believe she is Larkspur Knits now on Instagram and Ravelry, and it is awesome. I use Lolo Did It. This is her Pride and Joy colorway, and so last episode I talked about how I slightly messed up the first like point of lace right here. I don't even know like how well you can kind of see it, but I don't think that you're gonna be able to see it or really notice it unless, like I said, I pointed out like I did now, where like you're really staring at it. Yeah, and then this middle part is called Winter is Coming, and this lighter blue is called Ice Ice Baby. I love this yarn. It is, I believe this is 70% superwash merino, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. I think I threw away the tags. And it's fabulous. It's super drapey. It feels really nice. And I'll have to say, like, this Pride and Joy colorway as a tonal, it's very even. So I know as like an indie dyer, sometimes it can be challenging to get tonals like very even, and this one I think was just, she did an amazing job with the color. And I really love how these speckles here kind of have some of that color in there. And then even this Ice Ice Baby, you can kind of see that there are these like darker areas which match here as well. And so besides just messing up that little lace panel, the only other difference with this shawl is that you, in the pattern, Lindsey says to do a garter row before you transition the colorways with the lace. But I missed transition between the lace sections, doesn't matter what color, but I missed it the first time and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna not do it, and I think it turned out fine. This like size of shawl is my absolute favorite. I know I'm like kind of bulky right now because I'm wearing a bulky sweater, but okay. Yeah, so I mean it's not, wow, I'm like failing right now. Okay. Well, okay. So you can see here now that I have it appropriately on, it fits really nice. I don't feel like it's gonna move and come off. And of course, if I drape it on my back, it's gonna like be really nice down my back. And the only other thing I guess too that I didn't do in the pattern is the pattern has tassels. I actually made tassels originally to put on the shawl, and once it was done blocking, I'm like, you know what? I really love it without the tassels. And I don't really see my mom being a tassel person anyways. And I'm like a hit or miss tassel person to begin with too. And you know what? I think it looks really nice with or without. So if you were contemplating making the shawl and you weren't sure if you wanted tassels, this is kind of what it looks like without it. But yeah, I think this is gonna be just a really, really nice present. I think my mom's really gonna love it, and I think this is a really good transition period between winter and spring, and I would just really highly recommend the pattern. The next project that I wanted to show is in my Blue Rabbit House bag, and it is a pair of socks from my boyfriend. So I showed this on the podcast last time. This is a current whip. My cake, my yarn cake is looking a little rough because it just got really messed up when I was winding it. I have the Knit Picks winder, and it's like my second one, and half the time it doesn't work. This is what happens when it doesn't work. So if you were contemplating getting that ball winder, I would highly recommend not to get it. Yeah, so this is what this colorway kind of looks like. This is what I'm using for my boyfriend's socks. And this is the Rocky Mountain National Park colorway by Explorer Knits. And it was a sock set. I don't remember. So the mini is called Aspen. It's just like a golden kind of brown color, and you can kind of see that colorway a little bit better. And yeah, so I use these stitch markers to count every 10 rows, and I'm currently using them on the bottom, so I'll like take them from the top and put them on the foot. I use a US size 1 on my Shawl Goon needles, and I did 20 rounds of twisted rib. I cast it on 72 stitches for my boyfriend, and then I did 70 stitches on the leg. I did a heel flap and gusset, slip stitch. I did this like garter ridge on the side. I did that for a couple of patterns, and I really, really like it, especially with this vanilla sock. I just feel like it gives it a little bit of extra oomph. Just a little like zhuzh, and yeah, I'm done with the decreases, and I have a very long foot to knit. My boyfriend wears a US Men 14. I think I like measured his foot too, like just in case, because I know like sometimes those shoes even run small on him, and it's like 32 centimeters total. So I have a little ways to go. I should have enough yarn because I use the mini for the heel and the cuff, heel and cuff. And then I have this little stitch marker from Lock and Lou, and it's a little wren. And something that I did differently this time that I talked about last time I podcasted was that I usually just start knitting a sock and I finish it and then I cast on the second sock. But because I am knitting this sock like when I'm reading, or like if I'm like in class or seminar and I just want to knit stockinette because it's very mindless, I ended up casting on a second. I ended up doing kind of like a 2 at a time type of situation. And so I knit the cuff, and then once I was done with this leg, I started knitting this leg. So I was like, okay, like that way I can always have stockinette, and I'm not held up because, oh, now I have to do the heel. So I was able to do that, and I still have to do the heel on this one. But because I have such a long foot to go, I can take my time doing this heel, then, finish the sock up, and then I'll be ready to rock and roll with the gusset and the foot and the toe, and then I'll have a pair for him. So, same thing. And I have another little bluebird. This is an indigo bunting from Lock and Lou as well. Yeah, I really love her stitch markers. I think I say that like all the time. They're just like my favorite ones. So that's how far I am. And it feels kind of weird to be like, oh man, I feel like because I've never done that before where I'm knitting 2 at a time-ish. I guess I am knitting 2 at a time. So because I'm not used to it, I'm like here at the foot, and then I'm like, oh, I don't have that much left, or I'm like almost halfway through the second sock already. So it's just kind of like a weird mental shift on how I'm thinking about these socks and finishing these socks. And yeah, I think my boyfriend Nick's gonna love them. So that's kind of what I've been working on. And then the other project that I have to show is actually a new project. So the next project is held up in my cute little Birch Grove bag, and I actually just casted this on last night. I casted on the Musselburg Hat, and I believe I'm saying that incorrectly, by Ysolda Teague. And this is the colorway. I think this is coming up more brown and like tan than what it actually is in real life. It's more pinky, but it's like a pinky brown. But what is showing up on the camera is actually a little darker in real life and not so tan. And this is a very coveted skein of yarn for me. This is Hey Sister Yarn Co. And I have been holding on to this yarn. I've been wanting to make a hat with it because it has a little bit of cashmere in it, and this is, I knit a pair of socks with their cashmere base, and it did not hold up very well after washing. I mean, there's no holes or anything, but it felted a lot. I was like, okay, so I'm not gonna knit socks with this other skein, and this is also just one of my favorite colorways by them. And if you don't know, they don't dye yarn anymore, and so I knew I wanted to make a simple hat with it. And I was looking at, I think, the Everyday Slouchy Beanie. I was contemplating making another Oslo hat, but I was also not sure if I really wanted to hold mohair with it. But then everyone's been knitting this Musselburgh hat. I know Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady, and she just started podcasting with another lady. I think she's the one that introduced the pattern to Kay. They were the ones that kind of like, I think, brought it to a lot of people's attention. I know Kay's doing like a cal for this hat, and I believe it goes until April 15th if you're interested in joining in. And yeah, it's the colorway is called Sepia, and like I said, this is on their cashmere base. So this was a 80-10-10 merino nylon. I think I'm gonna have to put this in my journal just because, like I said, I have a few more Hey Sister Yarn Co. skeins, but I'm like, they have to be like the perfect project. And yeah, and so this hat, if you're not familiar, is really interesting because you obviously start at the top. And I forgot what cast on method I used. I think it was like the first one recommended in the pattern. It was a new to me cast on. I had to do it a few times because it's essentially casting on so it can knit in the round. And it just like, because there's so few stitches on my DPNs, they kept like sliding. I was like, oh, this is terrible. I mean, then obviously, like after knitting a couple rounds, the stitches tighten up and it's a lot easier to knit with. But so what you do is you start increasing, and then you just knit like a huge tube. And I'm just about to start knitting in the round for the huge tube. As much as I want to work on this hat, the reason I casted this hat on was because I'm actually going out of town for a few days next week for some like field work like opportunities, and I'm gonna bring my boyfriend's socks with me. But I was like, what if I finish those while I'm over there, and I don't want to bring a sweater with me. I don't want to bring my pink fizz. So I was like, you know what? Let me cast this on now. Let me make sure my needles are correct. And I'll talk about that in a second. And yeah, so I was like, let me make sure my needles are correct and blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I just finished the increases. And I really want to work on them. But yeah, I'm not even, like, this is as much as I got done. And I know that I want to cast on more because I think they're going to make amazing Christmas presents. So you like knit the huge tube, and then at the end of the tube, you decrease, and then it's like you have two hat tops on each end and you fold it in. I know I didn't finish like explaining the construction of this. And I think the really cool thing about that is because sometimes I just love having like a baggy beanie, and then sometimes I love having like a more tight fit cap. And that it's so versatile is that you can do that. Like, I love simple hats. And I just love that. Yeah, I can, like I just said, it's so versatile. I can make it any kind of way that I want to make it. And I think it's going to be just really nice to wear, and it's in a beautiful like pinky brown color that I absolutely love too. So the thing with this pattern as well, like I kind of mentioned, the needle size was that you can pretty much use, so I'm using a fingering weight yarn, but you can pretty much use, I think, up to like a DK, maybe even a worsted weight. And because what you're doing is you just cast on and then you check your gauge to see how many stitches you have within an inch, and then you just follow that gauge size. I actually was a little bit confused when I was reading the pattern on that. When they had gauge, for some reason I was like registering that as needles to use. And I just like couldn't, I was like, I don't understand. So like the different gauge sizes is, the different gauges are between, like, if you have between 7 stitches to 4.5 stitches per inch. But I was like I said, just thinking those were like needles, and I was like, I don't have a 4.5 needle. I have DPNs in a size 4. Let me just cast that on and see if that works. And then afterwards I realized like what it actually meant, and I was like, oh, that's my gauge, not my needle size. And it worked out because using the US 4 needle got me 7 inches in an inch. So, I mean, 7 stitches in an inch. So it all worked out. It's perfect. Yeah, because I was even contemplating, I was like, I hope this is like not too loose. Like maybe I should have done a US 3. But yeah, it's a really cool pattern, and I would highly check it out, especially if you want some simple hats, and especially with like any like birthdays coming up or Christmas, which will come here sooner than not. So, but that's it for all of my projects. I have started to slowly work on my pink fizz again. I only knit like a few rows, so I don't think it's worth showing, but that is going to be the project that I am now focusing on in regard to like my pattern project. So the next thing that I wanted to chit chat about was my Stash Down 2021. If you are new to this channel, I'm trying to stash down my yarn stash this year. And so I counted all of my yarn, and I have more specifics in the next episode because there's kind of a lot in how I did that. But for the month of February, I got like either used or destashed or did the giveaway. I got rid of like a total of 10 skeins, but I did add 1 skein to my stash, so that's a total of 9 for February, but that brings my overall total down to 267. I do have more yarn coming, which I will explain when it comes, but we're not counting that yet because I haven't received it. So, but you know, I mean, I think I'm already about, well, actually, I'm not even going to talk about March because, again, I have yarn coming. So, yeah. And, yeah, so I think so far so good, though. I think I still feel good that I can get my stash down to 200 by the end of the year. And what I did bring into my stash this year was a new skein, of course, of Sewrella Yarn. So this is the Christoph colorway. And she had a collection open up on January 1st. It was her greatest hits collection. And I was just really drawn to this color. I also love Disney, so I love like Disney themed yarns, which maybe was a downfall on Monday when she had her collection, but we'll get to that when that yarn comes. Yeah, and I got it on her tweed sock base because I wanted to make socks with these, and her normal sock base doesn't have nylon in it, and I just don't feel comfortable with my socks. Like, I wear them a lot and they hold up pretty well with nylon, but feeling like her classic sock base, I really don't think it's gonna hold up well, at least for me. So I just don't want to take that chance. But yeah, so this is her tweed, which is an superwash merino, 15% Donegal net, and that Donegal has some of that nylon in there. Yeah, I'm really excited to make it. I don't know what pattern I'm gonna make with it yet, or if I'm just gonna knit vanilla socks. I don't know, I was just super drawn to the colors. They're a little bit darker on the tweed base because that's just tweed, but I'm really excited to use it. And I also got her little like frozen hand cream too, so which smells really good. And if you ever were interested in using her hand cream, I would highly recommend because it goes on very smooth. The next thing that I have to show was a present that I got for me and for you, for someone. And that was Nicole from Thyme. She sent me some beautiful stitch markers that she made. So she gave me a pack of 2. And one is for me and then one is for a giveaway. I will probably do a giveaway maybe next time. I'm not really sure how I want to curate that package yet, what I want to include in it, so I gotta think about it a little bit more, but the one that I will eventually give away will be these, and she makes them herself. And the reason I wanted to show them on today instead of when I do the giveaway is just because I want to start using mine. These are the ones that I'm keeping for myself, and I think they're so, like, these are my colors 100%. I will have Nicole's channel and shop link down below, and I just think they're just absolutely beautiful. I might even put this on my Musselburg hat. Yeah, sorry, I think they're getting a little bit of a glare, but they're just so pretty. Yeah, and that's, you know, thank you again, Nicole, for doing that. That was very sweet of her. But besides that, that's all I have in regards to like knitting stuff. I do have a few books that I want to talk about, so if you are new, again, I like to talk about books at the end of my podcast, but if that's not your jam, I totally understand. Thank you so much for checking out my video, and if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe so I can reach out to new people. And I hope you have a wonderful start to your March and your spring, and I will talk to you later. For those of you who would like to talk about books, I have completed 3 books so far since the last time I podcasted, which I'm really excited about because that means that my goal of reading 36 books is back on track. That's about, 3 books a month, and now I'm up to that average. So so the first book that I read, 2 of them weren't really like fiction, no, 2 of them weren't fiction books. One of them was. But the first one that I completed, well, the second one I completed was Dave Ramsey, The Total Money Makeover. It talks about finance, and if you are like new to finance and you want to learn more about it, this probably isn't the book for you. There are definitely good tips in here, so it's definitely a book I would recommend, but I know he recommends a different book if you're actually learning more about some of the topics that he's talking about. This is more of just like, here are the baby steps that you should kind of follow for your total money makeover. A couple of the first few chapters it's very advertising in this book too, but I still got a lot of good out of it. Just a lot of reminders about like your habits with money and stuff. Because I'm graduating soon. I have some student loan debt that I need to prioritize and just kind of budget. And also like, what's my next job? I don't know. So I'm just trying to like get myself in a better financial like mindset. So this was like kind of just a good reminder about that, and like I said, some good tips. There's really not much else to say about this because again, it's just a finance book. Yeah, and so the first book I did finish though, since the last time I podcasted, was The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. If you're not familiar, she has like that Tidy Up show that she did on Netflix a few years ago now. Maybe, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. I watched it, I really enjoyed it. The reason why I read this book was because I actually have been, I should say I listened to this was an audiobook. The reason why I listened to this book was because I have been listening to all my audiobooks on the Libby app, which is connected to your local library. And because I don't want to pay for Audible. And so I have like books on hold, but you know, I think the next one is coming in like a month, and the last one is coming in like 12 weeks or something like that. And I've had holds for I think like 16 weeks for some of these books that are like slowly dwindling. And so while I was waiting for the next book, which was part of like which was the book I also needed to read for my book club, I was like, you know what, let me see what's available to listen to. And that book was available, and yeah, I think it's very similar to a show, obviously, the steps that you kind of go through, but I've been trying to like, I go back and I have like on and off, like, oh, let me like declutter everything and like, you know, get rid of a bunch of stuff, and then like I do it, and then, you know, I let piles of like my stuff kind of sit like in my closet. So it was just like a good like reminder of like, you know, just like get rid of stuff that you don't need, like what's important and what am I bringing into my house and what's bringing me joy. But yeah, I mean, again, if you watch the show, it's very similar. It's not a very long book. I think it was only like 4.5 hours. So, you know, I would treat it like a podcast if you want to. But yeah, I think I gave both of these like 4 stars because I guess for their target audience, like they're on point. But then the last book that I just completed was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, which is a very, I would say, popular book currently. And I gave it like 4 stars on Goodreads, but really it was more like 3.5, 3.75. It's a very popular book, like I just said. It seems like most people really love it. I don't know if it's because I just like read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I read Wild, I read these like really amazing books prior to this one, that it kind of fell a little flat for me, or a little short, whatever. I love the concept of the book. And the book is not like, it's not bad. It's just, it was a little boring. I just kind of found it to be a little bit boring. So, you follow this woman named Nora, and she has a really crappy day, and she's just had like all these like life events that have gone kind of wrong, and she wants to commit suicide. And so she takes the attempt to do so, but she ends up getting transported to this midnight library, like her soul kind of, I'm gonna call it soul. I don't know if they explicitly said if it was her soul or not, but yeah, like a part of her gets transported to this midnight library, and in this library there are an infinite amount of books that have different lives of hers, like parallel universes. So there's like this one big book of regrets, and she can like kind of look through it if she chooses to or not, and choose different lives to kind of try out, and see if she wants to live a different life. And there are some lives that I really loved. She gives like this tree of life speech. In one life, another life, she's a climatologist, I believe, is what it's called. And I really enjoyed that life and like her adventure there. And I really enjoyed the ending, and I felt very satisfied after like completing the book. It felt like everything was whole. But I don't know, it was kind of a weird book because, again, I love the concept of the book, but like I said, some of the lives, it's like after a few of it, you get the gist, like, of what the book is trying to say. And also, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. Yeah, you get kind of the gist of it, and she's like, oh, that's what I was gonna say. So in the book, Nora went to college and she studied philosophy. So then it was kind of, you know, every once in a while, it's like the book is trying to give you like life lessons, but it's trying to give it in like a very like philosophical tone. And I don't know, sometimes it felt like, yeah, so yeah, I just felt like sometimes he was trying too hard to I think that's what I'm trying to go with that. It just felt like he was trying a little bit too hard to like tell that life lesson in a philosophical way. But yeah, so I mean, overall, I mean, I wouldn't like not recommend it. I just don't, I think other books do a better job trying to like explain what the story is trying to get at. That's my critique on it. But yeah, so that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed it, and you know, let me know what kind of books you're reading, what you're knitting on down below. I'd love to hear it, or if you have any books you'd like to recommend. And I hope, as I said before, you have a wonderful, wonderful start to your March and your spring, and I will talk to you all next time.